She speaks about the unspeakable because it's a part of her healing and a part of empowering other victims of rape and abuse to break the silence and cycles of shame and guilt and heal as well. My guest today is a conscious rapper and inspirational speaker, Kim Belew, and we talk about how finding a safe, supportive, and non-judgmental community rooted in love brought much-needed turning point into her life. I'm Tajci. At 19, I was a superstar, and I was lost inside. I left it all behind, switched continents, and started all over. Years later, I found myself lost again, this time in the American dream. This is a story about awakening, about living the life you were created for, about going inward and discovering the joyous and purposeful person you and I are both meant to be. This is Waking Up in America. Kim, welcome.
Hey, it's great to be here. Yes. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. And I have to say that, exactly why you're speaking, I feel that. I feel that uncomfortable feeling of I'd rather not know. And yet I know through doing this show, I met so many women like you who saying talking about these uncomfortable things is a part of healing. When I was preparing for today's episode, I was thinking, where do we start? And so I thought, why don't you start with some of your poetry?
All right.
And bring us into it.
I can do that. Yeah. So I can start with Freedom, or I could start with The Gift, which is a song that I wrote. So I'll do a verse from The Gift. I wrote this song, about my journey. And so I'll do just the first verse from The Gift. Not long ago, all I could say is all that I have is failure and pain. I couldn't look up, I didn't know love. The best I could do is try to show up. It wasn't long ago, I took the wrong path. Went so far down, I didn't think I'd come back. Time was so hard and there were times I was abused, living on the street was all that I knew. A short time ago, my spirit felt shattered. Having hope or faith never really mattered. I tried for so long, was at the end of my rope. Ready to give in, I was losing all hope, but I walked toward this light, I couldn't resist. Without ever knowing it was there, I'd find the gift.
Oh, thank you. And the gift is?
The gift is love. The gift is hope. The gift is light.
Kim, your path to that love and that light and that hope seem to have taken a long, hard road.
It has.
And tell us a little bit what you do is conscious rap. Tell us a little bit of what is that?
Conscious rap to me is a little bit different than, let's say, positive rap or something. Conscious is more like I'm being very aware of what I'm saying, and I want there to always be a message of hope at the end of it, but I'm still going to talk about some of the hard stuff as well. So it might be a little bit different than something that's constantly positive, but it is conscious and it's aware and it's hopeful.
So it means you talk about hard stuff in your songs.
I do. Yeah.
How does that help in your what you do now? How does that help others? What do you see?
Well, what I see is that I'm sharing my own journey and my own healing, and other people are relating to that wherever they are on their own journey. They're like, oh my gosh, I've been through that. I've experienced that. And so they too are, connecting to it. Or they're maybe in a point where they are not feeling the hope and the love, and they hear a song. And for them to say a rap song made me feel hope, made me feel love, made me feel connected, that's a big deal. And so I'm wanting to change the face of rap as well.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah. And when you say, okay, so it's a positive, but you talk about hard things. Sometimes I feel, we're tiptoeing around these hard issues, and the people who need healing are looking to catch the words that hurt them. Isn't that right?
Yeah.
And so when I read your story, I love how you're so direct. There's no wrapping it up in a pretty bow.
Right.
Really appreciate that. As much as it's going to make us uncomfortable. So one thing that, when I was reading about your story, so these are the words that cut through. Your stepfather started sexually abusing you at the age of 11. Took you to his friends to abuse you as well, and even took you to an abortion clinic to terminate 2 pregnancies. And yet, when you try to tell your religious community in which your stepfather was an elder...
Well, when I tried to tell them, they were mad at me because he was a beloved person in the community, and so I was chastised and taken into a room where I was basically told that I was wrong for even saying anything about this beautiful elder of theirs, and how could I prove that these things were true.
And you spoke to them, that was already years after the abuse started.
Right, yeah, it was about 7 years after. Yeah.
7 years in silence. So tell us, how did that feel?
When I brought that out?
During living in that silence, living in that horror.
That was what I would consider hell. You know, a lot of people talk about hell being a place you go after you die, but that was what I call hell. And, you know, it was basically, it changed me. You know, so if someone wanted to talk about the shadow and the light, I became the shadow, and I embodied that because I didn't know how. I lived with a constant storm inside of me that I couldn't talk about. And so I had a dual personality. I had the personality that everyone saw, and then I had the personality that was surviving everything and living it. And it was very hard. It was very difficult. And I changed.
Wow. So your personality changed, and yet, so now help me to understand, you are connected, you're aware of God?
I was aware of God through the church, but it was their God. And so it was a God I didn't like, and I thought hated me.
Yes.
Yeah, so that was because that's what I was being told by my stepfather, and that the reason that he was doing a lot of the things was for punishment. You know, and so I'm living in this church where we're all being taught that it's all about punishment and reprimanding, and you know, so I believed that in this horrible God, and so I would rather not believe in God than to believe in this God. Right.
So you're dealing with punishment, with shame, with guilt, with darkness, in which you're wrapped up as a little girl. You're talking about from the age of 11 till about 17.
Right.
We're talking to Kim Belew, a victim and survivor of child rape and abuse. And when we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about that dark place, but then we'll find out what helped her and how she is now inspiring and healing others in our world. Do you feel stuck in life? Are you waiting for a miracle? Would you like to transform your pain and anxiety into joy and freedom? Here's how. The answers are in my book, Turning Points. There are dozens of stories of people like you, people stuck in addictions, abuse, and bad relationships. But they all took that first step. They all went on a transformational journey, and so can you. Visit wakinguprevolution.com, amazon.com, or any major online bookseller. Get your copy and turn your life around today. We're talking to Kim Belew, a conscious rapper and inspirational speaker who speaks for the victims of rape and abuse. So Kim, thank you so much for sharing your story and being so courageous. So we're at the point where you're in that dark place. You don't have anyone to speak to. Nobody wants to hear you, and you turn to substance abuse.
Yeah, and it seemed only natural to do that. And the other side of it is my stepfather sold alcohol for a living. And so the flip side of all of it was that was the one thing I was allowed to do in my household because everyone drank. And with the strict religion, that was the one thing that you were able to do. And so I did start drinking at an early age, and I found that it helped me feel like I was out of my body so that I could survive. And so it actually was a really good friend to me for years, and it probably enabled me to get through. But it also created this addiction that damaged my life later on.
Yes. So what happened? Take us to now to you ended up in a psychiatric ward.
I did, yeah. So I brought the abuse out at 18, got married at 18 to get out of my house. And at 19, I fell apart. I completely lost my mind. And the substance abuse was so deep and so terrible that I was acting out. And it wasn't me. It was that Jekyll and Hyde that you hear about a lot of the substance abuse. And so I had that going on within me. And so I got committed to first a local psych ward, and then I spent about 9 months there before I went to court, and they deemed me mentally incompetent and sent me to a state mental facility.
Was that your initiative to go?
No, I was taken to the psych ward by my husband and a friend at the time because I was the abuse was just coming, and I didn't know what I was feeling. I had never really talked about it since I brought it out to those elders. I sort of went and retreated within. And so it was just the feelings were coming.
Yes, how do you even have a relationship with a man after
I didn't. That's what the problem was, and I didn't realize what was going on. About 3 months into the marriage, I just fell apart because anytime he would try to touch me or be near me, I just couldn't stand it, and I didn't know why, and he didn't know why. He was so kind, and 21 years old, and he didn't understand what was going on either, and I was being so mean to him. And so but I didn't know why. That's why, because all of this stuff was flooding me, and I was just acting out.
So I hear these women who had a very similar experience is that the system fails you. Mm-hmm. Nobody knows you're going through it. Mm-hmm. Do you see that we have better tools now that we can recognize that women, girls are being helped? Or
I'm not sure. I haven't been in I went through a women's crisis center at the time. And there were some people that were very helpful, but what really helped me was there were specific nurses in the hospital that really took time out to see what was going on with me. They weren't just medicating me. They weren't, because that's what the doctors were doing. They were just medicating what I was acting like. And the nurses were coming in on their days off and sitting with me and really trying to talk to me. And they saved my life. They really did, because they gave me just enough nurturing and caring and love that I had never received, that it enabled me to get that step towards getting sober and then towards healing.
But you didn't share your story with them?
No, they knew a little bit. They knew a little bit, and my mom had died at this point in a car accident, and my stepfather, and so there was huge trauma, and so they knew a little bit of backstory. They knew that I had been abused, and they knew that there was they died in the middle of that, and so they knew it was very traumatic, and that I was married, and my husband had left, and I was only 20. So it was all of this was going on, and they were just really nurturing me.
Yes, I mean when you describe the darkness and the silence, I want to know, how do I know? I want to help you, mm-hmm. but how do I know you're suffering?
Right.
And I think you said, and another person that I talked to said, that's why people like you are speaking out.
Mm-hmm, exactly. That's what it is, because at the time when I was doing that, no one was talking about this kind of stuff openly. And so part of what I feel my mission is to speak openly so that others can hear. And even if they don't ever come out and do what I'm doing, they know that they're not alone, and maybe they'll tell somebody, maybe they'll feel like they can heal. And so that's part of my purpose. The whole reason that I might have gone through all of this is so that I can help others have a voice.
Oh, you're so generous and so kind, and really, I can't express enough how grateful I am as a mother, as a woman, and as a human. So that your mother and stepfather dying in that car crash was the first turning point toward healing.
It was actually, I say this, and a lot of people don't understand it, but I say that the greatest gift my mom gave me was that she died. Because if she'd have lived, I probably would have died. And so I think somehow the universe had said, she needs to go. And she was like, this is the biggest gift I can give you, is that I can go so that you can heal.
Did she know this was happening?
When I brought it out, of course, and she may have known. I think I tried to tell her when I was 15. And when I did, she said something to me, which was, my dad did something to me when I was a little girl, and I didn't tell my mom because it would break her heart. And to me, that was her saying, I don't want to know because it'll break my heart. And so my mom had her own pain and her own things. And I think when she passed away, she was carrying a lot of that pain, and she felt like the biggest gift she could give me was to release me, to give me that freedom to go on and live. And I got sober within 3 months and started the journey out of the darkness.
We're talking to Kim Belew, a conscious rapper, inspirational speaker, who is breaking the silence and breaking the cycle of pain and shame and guilt that the victims of rape and abuse get stuck in. When we come back, we'll talk about how Kim is helping others to heal. We're talking to Kim Belew about hard stuff, and as we were talking during the break, tell us about that just cutting through all the fluff and just being real.
Since I've started doing music, I've really felt called to be really, really authentic and more real as I've grown in the music, and I felt like it's really important for me to just tell the truth. Tell the truth behind the music. And so that song, my song, The Seed, is talking about how the community that helped me find that gift also were walking out on me as I took the stage, and how hard that was. And I tell that story so that people understand that you can still stay in it and you can still be in your gift even when those hard things are happening.
Because you learn how to stay in discomfort. You spend a lot of your life numbing from it. But once you healed, you now realize that running from pain is not going to do any good.
Right, yeah.
And so staying with discomfort, so now you even I'm sure as you speak, do you get criticism? Like, why do we have to talk about this?
Yeah, even the things that I've posted on Facebook, some big things, or speaking, they're like, why do you need to talk about that? Or you've said it, now let's not talk about it anymore. And there's a lot of uncomfortableness and there's a lot of fear that comes up for people. And I'm like, that's why. Because I want it to one day be that we're not uncomfortable to talk about these things.
Well, and I hope there will be one day when we would not have to even talk about that, because that would not happen.
Right.
You know, I know that there's so many people out there, so many women that, you know, when I read that first sentence, you know, there's too much that hits home. We've a lot of us had, you know, some version of it, some experience of being abused, of not being dignified, not being treated with respect, of being treated like, you know, like you were.
Like a product. And, you know, I think it's time to give voice to that. And as I was telling you, I created this thing called One Voice at a Time, where I hope that one voice at a time of people like me and you were speaking out, that one day it will be that there won't be as many victims, because we'll be so supported and so loved, and the perpetrators won't feel so empowered, because right now they feel empowered because there's so much silence and shame.
Shame.
And I don't want to carry that anymore, so I'm breaking that.
When was the big turning point that you were able to release that shame?
It's still happening, so let me say that. You know, I don't want to like mislead people that it just goes away.
Yeah.
But the big turning point would be, I read the book, The Four Agreements, and probably about 12 years ago, that book came across, and I had been sober for a little while, and I started reading the book, and it said, question everything that you are, everything that you believe about yourself, and write it down and look at it. And I started writing down what I'd been carrying, that it was no longer the truth of who I was, and how do I release that? And it was a big turning point for me, and being like, I no longer want to carry the shame, because I'm still giving power to my stepdad and to everything that happened. That's
a very hard thing to do. So take us a little bit deeper into that when you say, release everything that I wasn't.
It's a process. So I want to say, like, you know, I found out 90% of what I believed wasn't me, and I just dropped it and started living it. But what it was is I looked at those things that I was believing, and I started
to write it down?
I wrote it down. I made a list. I had a column that said, this is what I believe about myself, because the book says, go back as far as you can remember. What's the first thing you believe about yourself? Mine was, I'm a tomboy girl, which means I'm not right as a girl. My family was saying, girls act like this, and I wasn't acting that way. And so I carried that belief, and how did I compound it as I went through life? How did I carry that into school? How did I carry that into everything? And so how do I start to change that, which is, I'm perfect just the way I am, you know, as a girl.
Yes.
You know, and so those are the things, and so I had to, like, one by one, you start to, and I still have to do it. I still have to make those lists and look at it, because we continue to build that. Society tells us so much.
Yes, it's a daily practice, right? To kind of like make an inventory. What am I, who am I, and what am I not?
Yes.
And then you found the community that you say was non-judgmental and supportive and safe. Tell us about that.
Well, it was first I walked into a Unity church, so which is you know, it was very open and loving. It was the first time I'd ever heard at a church someone say, no matter who you are, what you've done, or where you've been, you are loved, and you are perfect, and you are whole. And I just melted, and I sobbed, and I sobbed. And it was there that I began to find this community that I'd never heard of before. That I was like, oh my God, I'm okay, no matter what I've done. And I've done some pretty bad things that I thought, you know, and so it was so wonderful, and it was so healing. And I want to create that for other people.
We're talking to Kim Belew. You are loved, no matter where you've been, no matter what you've gone through, no matter what you did, you are loved.
Are you planning a live event? Looking to bring inspiration and a fresh approach to wake up your community or organization? Tajci's keynote concerts are transformational experiences that lead your audience to a life of joy, authenticity, courage, and purpose. Book Tajci for your next event now by visiting wakinguprevolution.com.
Kim, thank you so much for sharing your heart story and for your work that you do to heal others.
Thank you for having me.
And I have a question from a viewer, from Kelsey from Overland Park. She wants to know, what did it take for you to feel your honor and dignity restored to your value?
It took the beginning of it took me, first of all, releasing some of those beliefs that weren't true and standing in and being around the people that could affirm that with me. So that community that I found that kept telling me, you are okay, you are loved, you are enough, you're perfect just the way you are. That helped. And when I started to write music and I started to allow the flow of the healing to come through those words and to stand on a stage fearful and allow that to flow out, all of that helped me. And whatever way it is that a person can find that, you know, their own healing, their own voice, their own release, that's how I honor myself, and by sitting here today and talking to you and by telling the truth, even if it's hard.
Finding that dignity and being able to respect your own body and love your own body that was a source of so much suffering for you.
I had to learn that it was okay. I didn't walk into every room and think, I have to give myself to you in order for you to be kind to me. You know, and that was one of those beliefs that I had to release, because I believed that all I was good for was to be used in that way. And so it was one of those beliefs that was on that list that it took me changing, and it took time, and it took constant honoring, you know, and realizing I'm sacred.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that. I think it's so important that we teach our sons and daughters that you don't have to give yourself in order to be loved in any way.
Right.
To have those boundaries and that respect for you as a sacred
Absolutely.
space. Yes.
Yeah, and I learned that as an adult, you know, but I'm so grateful because so many don't ever learn that.
Yes. Wow, thank you so much. All right, so we'll go a little bit lighter now, and we'll do the one-word answers.
All right.
All right. Ready? What brings you most joy?
Music.
One thing you're most grateful for?
Life.
Your biggest fear?
Failing.
Your biggest challenge?
Ego.
If you could be anywhere in the world right now, you'd be?
Right here.
Your favorite food?
Ooh, Thai.
Nice. Top thing on your bucket list?
To travel in Australia and do music.
Oh, nice. That's all right. One thing you'd like to be more of?
Authentic.
Tea or coffee?
Coffee.
House or apartment?
House.
Fly or drive?
Fly.
Summer or winter?
Summer.
Last photo you took with your phone?
Right here.
All that our world needs is?
Love.
If I could abolish anything from the earth, it would be?
Pain.
And this year I claim?
Joy.
Joy. We're here in this beautiful old gallery, and have you ever done art?
I have.
As a part of your healing? Or?
I did a little bit of it when I was in the hospital, and then I've done we've done some stuff called Cheers to Art, where they take you, it's almost like a paint by numbers, they take you through and you do a painting. So that's been fun. But yeah, I've done art and doodling. I'm more abstract, but this is beautiful and I really love it.
Yes, I just love how Olga's art it just radiates from the love.
It is.
And storytelling, she's a storyteller. So you are also a storyteller through your spoken word and poetry.
Absolutely.
How did you learn how to do that?
I don't know. It just is something that's naturally there, and it's funny. I didn't know it was there. Someone else saw that in me. So that's the funny thing about our gifts. Sometimes we aren't aware of them, and someone else sees that in me. And so I was a DJ, and I did karaoke as part of my thing, and part of that is doing the first song to get people comfortable. And I was like, I can't sing, so I'll rap. And I did it, and everybody's like, you did that really well. So then I rapped at a Unity picnic, and the music director saw me and said, I want you to do this on a Sunday.
Wow.
And then from there he said, write your own song. And I was like, I don't write songs. And he said, yeah, you're a songwriter. And then history has been made ever since. And he awakened something in me that I didn't know was there. And so I tell people, don't always believe that you know or don't know, because I have a purpose, and I didn't know I had a purpose.
I think that's very courageous of you to then start writing poetry like that.
Yeah.
I
just
really
flowed out.
admire
He
that.
saw it. I don't know how, but he saw it, and it just started flowing, and it was just coming, and it's been coming ever since. Yeah.
So tell us about the piece that you're going to perform for us, to share with us.
The freedom piece. So what's wonderful about this piece is that a friend of mine who's from Nigeria, from the gang-ridden areas of Nigeria, came to this country, and he wrote a musical called Be Hopeful, because he wants to talk about the hope that can come out of anything. And he called us all together, and he said, I'm going to give you a word, and you get to do whatever you want with that word. Wow. And so he gave me the word freedom. And he said, now you write whatever comes to you about the word freedom. And I opened the musical with that piece, the piece that I'm about to share. I opened this musical called Be Hopeful. And it's all about my interpretation of what freedom is. And it's really powerful.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Enjoy the piece.
Freedom. Where does it come from? What does it mean? Is it freedom from places or freedom from things? Is it freedom of thought or freedom of word or freedom to be who we came to be in this world? Is it freedom from abuse or freedom from pain? Freedom from a bottle or much greater things? Is it freedom from a person, a horrible home, or freedom from the fear of being alone? Is it freedom to sleep in a warm, comfy place or freedom to choose where you work and you play? You see, freedom to me is all these things and more. But within our own mind is where we'll find the door. Yes, we hold the key to unlocking our light, to uncover our greatness, shining so bright, to letting go of fear, truly letting ourselves be. That, to me, is what it means to be free. So I'll let my light shine, giving others a chance to see their own unique light, so they too can be free.
I wish you to find that freedom and let your light shine so you too can bring healing into our world. Thank you so much for being with us, watching this episode and sharing it with your friends. I'm counting on you to help us spread these stories because they are important. I also want to encourage you to come to our website, wakinguprevolution.com, and connect with Kim, our guest, and with her music and her message. And also consider supporting our show through patreon.com/wakingup, because these stories are important and need to be told. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.